You have to start. Oh, you just.
What?
I group cleared up yet? From the county.
You ready?
You find 5 votes for me.
Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get this meeting started with the roll call vote. I'm appointing Mr. Kitson to the board or the committee. I am here, Miss Allen, Mr. Palin, Ms. Naylor. Just trying to get on Miss White and Mr. Kitson. Present. Mr. Valleys or Mr. Palin's here. Approval of the minutes from the previous month. Is there any changes, corrections? Hearing none, they'll stand as read. The claims should be in the claims committee. If anybody wants to review those.
They're in the onboard folder.
Yes, in the onboard folder for claims. So we'll start with the ROE office for their monthly report. Chris, turn it over to you.
Thank you. Real quick, I did bring an employee with me to introduce to the committee. I have with me today Michelle Hopp, who actually is our Lee County employee that we're very grateful that the county board provides for us. She's been with our office since 2007, back when it was just Lee Ogle separate from Whiteside. Of course, now we have merged into Lee Ogle and Whiteside. She is the administrative assistant for the regional superintendent, assistant regional superintendent. So God knows how tough it is taking care of me and Mr. Knuth. So we appreciate all that work. But in addition, she also is responsible for all of our health, life, safety. And when I say that, it is a ton of work. She is certified to do building inspections. So the three of us, Mr. Knuth, myself, and Michelle are responsible for physically inspecting all 24 school districts, every building in our districts. And we'll be doing that again this fall. We like to get that done by November, December. In addition, she's the one that inputs any and all violations that go into the system from those inspections and make sure that the districts are responding to us and getting those things fixed that were documented. She coordinates with the fire departments because they have to go along with us on those inspections. She gets all those set up. And in addition, any work that any school district takes on that's over $50,000, they have to file a building permit with our office. The architect has to send us the plans, let us know the work they're going to do. We have to go over it and approve it. I issue the building permit, and then later on, we have to go back and do an occupancy check, make sure that the work's done and that it's safe for the students and teachers. And then we issue them the occupancy permit to have the building occupied again. And she also handles all those for us, that paperwork, and gets that done. So there's a ton of work that she does, and we're grateful for her and wanted to bring her to introduce her to you. And then she's happy to take any questions that anyone has for her. That one, left the slide over here if they have any questions.
How hard is it to work for Chris?
Michelle, you do not need to answer that. It might be incriminating.
Thank you, Wendy. Well, I did work for Bob. So, you know, it was training for Chris.
Gotcha. Perfect. Well, we appreciate everything you do. Glad you're on board and keeping him in line. So.
Any other questions for Michelle? Okay, briefly go over the report. We've obviously been very, very busy right now. We're all of our districts, most of them will be coming back in session this week. I've got to speak at the Rock Falls Elementary District Employee First Day this afternoon. Looking forward to that. I spoke at Dixon's on Thursday. Questions I get asked a lot are COVID regulations heading into the fall and a couple things that have happened. The good news is the CDC just changed their guidance recently to not having to quarantine anyone that's a close contact anymore and just having them masked. So we have a webinar tomorrow at 10 a.m. with ISB, IDPH, and most of our superintendents will be on that webinar along with me. We'll get those new guidance and regulations. The other thing I get asked about is, it was probably 3 weeks ago now, the governor in a press conference said that he was going to reinstitute or continue with the mandate that unvaccinated school staff members, K-12, have to test again weekly. And he put that out in a press release, and all the superintendents and myself went, what? And we've all talked to, I have an attorney that represents our office. All the superintendents have talked to their attorneys, and all of them have said unequivocally that appellate court decision back in February of 2017 told him that he couldn't do that, and it's still there, and it hasn't been overruled. So if you get asked about that, none of our superintendents are going to be testing unvaccinated staff members once a week like they were last year. It's not a requirement, and he really has no legal authority to do it. And I don't know if he realized that. He hasn't said anything since in the last 3 weeks. So I think, I guess that would mean he probably realizes that. So if that comes up, none of our superintendents are going to be testing unvaccinated staff weekly like they were last year because that court order says they don't have to. We'll know more after that webinar tomorrow about COVID and we'll be ready for the start of this year. We're excited to, basically the state has said that it's up to the county health administrator and the superintendents to determine what are the local numbers and if any mitigations are needed based on a rise in those numbers. So we're excited to have that back in local control, which is kind of the way we thought it should always be. Another thing I want to talk quickly about, the regional superintendents organization statewide has asked me to interview and represent them on the state educator prep and licensure board. That's a 20-person board that gets together every other month, and they're responsible for all of the university programs that lead to some kind of educator license in the state of Illinois. They approve those. The universities submit those plans to us. We get to decide on if we will let them lead to licensure. We also can work with them on maybe changing some things to make licensure a little more attainable. So I'm very honored. I did get appointed to that board. So it's a 3-year term. So I'll be on that 20-person board for the next 3 years, representing our 3 counties down in Springfield and helping hopefully do some things with the teacher shortage and working with the universities on doing some things to get more people certified. So excited about that. The rest of the updates are you can see professional development. We're very busy in the month of July and August. We get a lot of trainings done because that's when educators have time to go to them. So our numbers are there. The Nexus program, we're very excited. We had 18 districts sign up this year, plus our Center for Change and plus 2 special ed co-ops. So we had enough support that we hired an additional full-time person. We're going to be rolling into the beginning of the year with 3 full-time people. And I'm very excited about that program. And thank the board again for that initial funding from the ARPA funds because it was a one-time deal. We now have enough districts signed on board and some support from grants that we're going to be able to support it. So thank you for helping us get that program up and going. A couple things with parents as teachers. You can see that all summer long they've been working to identify newborns to age 3 in the area and get students signed up. They've enrolled 8 new children from 6 different families. And we'll be continuing to do that as we roll into the fall and get their programs underway. The state also announced that they're going to give major grants, 60 million in grants to public school districts and not-for-profits that need to get things done construction-wise on their facilities for early childhood. And there's a little blurb in that about it. And our office is going to kind of serve as the hub for this area with that grant. And we have another webinar presentation that's going to happen this week for all the superintendents that are interested in getting some of that money to help their preschools and nonprofits too, that also could use some of that construction money to improve their facilities. The education outreach program, our GED program is continuing to enroll students and looking forward to another big start of the year, as well as our Regional Center for Change School. It's the first day for staff there. I'm doing a presentation this afternoon. Looking forward to that. We're going to have, I think, 70 students to start the year. And we've done some renovations over at Thome School in the building. The classrooms look great. So we're ready to go. Take any questions.
You hit on it a little bit, teacher shortage. Where are we at locally for educators?
So Mary Escamilla, who's our licensure person, who's been doing this forever. I mean, I think coming up on 30 years. She's never seen a year like this. We've spent most of our last 2 months on the phone daily with superintendents who are having trouble filling positions. And one of the things I've done, Chris, is the state allows us, if a district cannot fill a position, the state allows us to have a substitute, a certified substitute in that position. And we have to kind of fill out a form every 30 days that they're still posted and looking. What I've done is I've adopted a form that's 1 semester at a time. So I have a lot of districts right now that are starting the year with certified subs covering a classroom, and I've given them that approval for 1 semester, provided that they keep the job posted and continue to interview applicants and have to consider any qualified applicants. The problem is we just don't have a lot of qualified applicants right now. So it's really stressful when it's a special ed position because I can let a sub cover that classroom. However, they're not certified to do any special ed paperwork like conduct the IEP meetings. So I've got several districts now that are taking that burden and splitting it among their current special ed teachers, which increases their caseload and their paperwork. So it's not a great situation right now. Obviously I've only been here for 4 years. I've never seen a year like this I've got probably 1 or 2 substitutes starting out the year in a classroom in most of our 24 districts.
Any additional questions for Chris? Thanks, Chris. We
Yep.
appreciate the update. Nancy, do you want to go next? We'll keep through.
Good morning, everyone. Wanted to give you an update on the election department. We are rolling right back into the next election. Early voting will start at the end of September, and applications for vote by mail go out here shortly. And probably another big news I have is in the iVitals office side. I don't know if anyone's aware that the state has taken over notaries for the state of Illinois. That used to all go through my office, and that was revenue. And now the state has taken that away from every county clerk. So you'll see that revenue go down.
What was the revenue for, just say, 2021? What was the revenue from that?
Approximately $700.
Oh.
Yeah. And then on that same note, the state also changed July 1 that any veteran and their family that comes in for a death certificate, their first death certificate is free, and any additional after that is $6. That also is going to impact my office and the revenue we take in for that. The first death certificate, we would collect $32. So there's a lot of changes that the state's taken out of my one side of my office, which is revenue to the county, unfortunately. And that's all I have.
Any additional questions for Nancy? Nancy, is that any of those questions? Paul?
Thank you. From IT, we're continuing to kind of pick up or clean up some stuff from when I started. So still a year and a half into it, but of new projects that are ongoing. One is wrapping up some pass-through grant money that came in from the state to the circuit clerk and the courts. Almost all that equipment has been deployed. Now we're in the final stages of wrapping up, deploying a software solution that will display the courtroom dockets to monitors outside of the courtrooms. And hopefully it'll be resolved very quickly here because we have the export. We just need now to coordinate with the vendor, getting it to the screens on a regular basis. So that's been a long time coming, and that didn't involve funds necessarily from the board. A board funded project on a much smaller scale. The board approved some capital funds to replace some computers in Kevin Valley, the OCEMA area, and we're working on that now. He's already used them at the I guess Petunia Festival in his trailer, and we're deploying some more in that space that he has. And then a project, again, the board funded consolidation of many of the servers in the county to a location in the new courts building on the second floor. That server room was built out and completed at the end of June, beginning of July. We migrated kind of a test server over to it. And now this week we're starting to migrate other servers over, hopefully with the completion with 99% of the work before the end of September, with one major server or system being waited to the end of the year. And that would be the election server. We're going to wait till the elections are over to migrate the election server. I don't want to be touching election data during the elections.
Russia?
What?
Nothing.
There's other projects going on, but those are the big ones right now. So does anyone have any questions for me?
No, thanks, Paul. Things are moving along, and appreciate everything that your department's doing.
And I want to thank, all the department heads for their assistance and their flexibility in working with my team to get these solutions deployed. Thank you.
Perfect. Carmen, you want to speak on GIS and the assessment, or just GIS?
I've just got GIS.
Perfect. I'll do
Jen
assessment.
sent notes in for assessment, I think. We built and gave to Highway Department a web app for them. They've been wanting something to track traffic incidents that have to do with road conditions or signage or things like that. They get reports from the sheriff's department and they want to map that out so they can see if there are hot spots or problem areas and if that has anything to do with highway. You know, if they need a stop sign or rumble strips or whatever. So I got that to Dave last week and they're going to start testing that and see how that works for them. The city gave us some sanitary layers that they've been waiting to get on their public works app. So Sammy and I have been working to get those on, like sanitary mains, manholes, and get that consolidated with what they've already got. The state 911 project, which has been going on for several years. We are in the next group to cut over to the new system at the state level. So we'll be working with our neighboring counties to make sure everything lines up before we get switched on with that in November. So we're gonna take a field trip over to 911 and talk to Shelley and Mike about the final stages of that. And then we'll be doing the regular work for farmland assessments. It'll be coming up and get that ready for the assessment office to start putting out new values. So.
Any questions for Carmen? Moving on to the assessment office, the reports in your packet. A couple things I want to highlight is the township, the multi-township paperwork was sent out. I don't know if she's heard anything from them yet. But they do have to consolidate a couple townships based off of residents and total dollars. So we've had an update, but have not heard anything from there. So I believe that concludes committee reports. Moving on to the new business, the zoning violation proposed internal process. This is for discussion only. It's going through all the committees, just so that way everybody understands what it is. So Dee, if you'd like to.
That's about as simple as you can make it, but just revamping different office procedures and we started with the violation process and ask if you look it over and see how our process works in the office. Charlie has looked at them, has given his suggestions.
I think it's a very step-by-step process to make all zoning violations accountable for our office and for the county and the citizens of Lee County. So this just details it accordingly. Any questions? So that's for discussion. Okay, proposed committee restructuring. So if you guys remember when we took the claims on, I proposed that we kind of change committees, right? Because we're all running into these 20, 25, 30-minute meetings other than finance. And so Wendy and I sat down here with Mr. Olson to kind of work through some different scenarios, and we sent out a survey to all the department heads, and Wendy and I kind of put together our heads, and this is where we kind of came up with. Oops. Committee assignments. So start with the executive, which would be 5 to 7 people. Once again, it would be all the chairs plus up to 2 people per board rules and procedures, up to 2 people who would be liaisons or to make sure that you had an odd number. County services, you can see that would be the assessor, the clerk, IT. Lots right now, as we know, Lots is trying to be moved off. ROE, transportation, solid waste would come up here. We did speak with Mr. Anderson, and he's running in the same thing, that they're having 20, 30-minute meetings. And what he said, I'm flexible to do whatever made sense for the county. Is pretty well what he said. Bid lettings and that kind of stuff would still happen up here at this meeting. And then zoning would come over to this side. As you look at public safety and the court system, animal control would move over there. Maintenance would move over to the public safety side, and really everything else would stay the same. You'd still have claims 3 times a month, or excuse me, twice a month on Wednesdays. Finance would be Thursday. So you'd have 2 meetings on Monday, 1 You guys changed that. Didn't you want claims on Tuesday, finance on Wednesday, executive on Thursday?
Nope, claims was always intended to be on Wednesday. So to Chris's point here, what we were attempting to do, and this is obviously subject to your approval and the board chairman's thoughts going forward, but we're trying to avoid what we get right now, which is things come out of committee, let's say on Wednesday out of public safety. It's too late to get it on executive unless we put it on executive early in the week, and we don't know if things will move out of public safety or not. So that's the idea of having two meetings on Monday and Wednesday claims, because it's always been there Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday being like it is now, executive and finance, just because we want to create that 48-hour window to be able to move things forward from Monday to the Thursday meetings. It's our goal.
So finance would be on Thursday morning and then executive would be Thursday afternoon. You would still have your committees, your special committees like we currently have now, ARPA, renewable energy, labor relations, so on and so forth. And then the big part here is this would go to more of a liaison style setting. So let's just use county services as an example. Bill would be in charge of, let's say, the ROE office. So if Chris had an issue, he'd work directly with Bill on it to work then through your department head or your committee head. Same thing in this example where Tom might be in charge of transportation solid waste. So you'd be the direct contact for Mr. Anderson, be able to work directly through and then back to your head or your committee head to bring anything to the board. This keeps everybody actively engaged in some of this because right now I'm meeting with a lot of these offices on my own. And that's fine, but I think as we move forward, especially with the reduction in the county board from 24 down to 20, you're going to have less board members. And this way it keeps everybody kind of accountable to work with your department head that you're assigned to. So any comments, questions, concerns?
I'll just add one more thought to that liaison model that we talked about doing. The other concept we have is now that we've essentially put all the departments into two committees instead of right now it's three committees. This liaison model offers, that those departments that direct contact and communication with the person, so they don't feel like they get lost in the shuffle. Since we have so many departments now that are going to be lumped under two committees, so we're hoping that will be a benefit to the department head as well as to the county board.
Also looking at it that everything's on Monday. So my envision is that people would show up. You might be here for county services at 8:30 on Monday morning. You might stay until public safety and vice versa, that if you're here for public safety, well, you're going to show up like Mr. Hudson just did for the next meeting and be able to catch a little bit of the conversation and discussion in person rather than on Zoom or YouTube to be able to benefit the knowledge of all the county board members. So that's why keeping a lot of those meetings all on one day. I know that's how some of the other counties do it locally, but this way it allows Becky to be able to get plenty of time on the agenda to get stuff moved to executive and go from there. Any comments, questions, concerns from gentlemen? Anything from the department heads? I know we asked for your guys' opinions and input, so I'm assuming that you all filled it out. This works for you guys.
I'm happy to report.
What's that?
I'm happy to report the bill.
Well, Bill and I won't be here, so it won't be us.
But you could still call Bill.
You're more than happy.
Appreciate that.
Right. So can I'll entertain a motion to move this to executive.
So that works,
Correct.
but here's what I was thinking. At this stage of the game, we're looking to get this out there, get your feedback. Next month, along with the complete board rules package, will be all of this, and that's when you could take your formal vote. Right now, it's just to ratify or to offer feedback.
You okay with it, Bill? Like it? I think I'm not necessarily saying that the meetings are gonna get to an hour long, but they may get to more of a meeting. So we need to be in that 40-minute, 45, 50-minute meeting timeframe. to justify our big thing is the department heads don't need to sit up here for a 20-minute meeting. They've got other things that they need to be doing, especially Charlie. So, but if he's here for an actual hour, 2-hour meeting that's productive, then by all means. So if nobody has an issue with that, I guess, yes, to your point, we'll just ratify the rules and procedures for next month and bring that to this committee.
Yep, and then you'll have the whole document because there are some other adjustments we need to make because we're going from 24 to 20 members. So there's some other things we need to tweak in there. I'm also hoping to propose the electronic voting process in those rules so that we can begin using your tablets for digital voting. That was always our goal. We're just trying to get these rules in place before we start.
As you look at the agenda, you've got rules and procedures updates that kind of covers that as well. So I have nothing there. Executive session. I'm good. Motion to adjourn. Mr. Kitson, Mr. Palin. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next month.
I'm privileged to have 3 legislative committees. So regional schools, you know, the Illinois Principals Association, and then I'm also